what we do here is go back.
Content Cop is an online series created by Ian Carter where hand-picked creators or genres are challenged for both their personas and their content. The series has garnered incredible success where every new installment is treated like an event. Content Cop wouldn't be nearly as successful if it wasn't for its creator and host, Idubbbztv. With the amount of work that goes into each episode, it is no easy task. However, that hasn't stopped YouTube trio Sn0wy from giving it a try.
I believe you have what it takes. I mean, I have nothing but respect for Idubbbztv, I should make that clear. But I think we have the skills to create a great episode of Content Cop. Right, Ruby?
Can't be that hard.
Oh, I'm just a camera guy. As long as it's safe, it should be fun.
So join us today to see just how much work goes into an episode of this legendary web series, and if these guys have what it takes to make their own rendition of a Content Cop. Let us start out with a little history lesson before we dive headfirst into the creative process. The first episode of Content Cop was released December 13th, 2015. What started as a little critique series from an average-sized YouTuber quickly grew into an almighty force not to be reckoned with. In its beginning years, Content Cop was very tongue-in-cheek, mostly poking fun at certain topics or creators with some genuine criticism sprinkled in each episode. It wasn't until May 5th, 2016, when its 5th episode on Drama Alert host Keemstar, did Content Cop start becoming the series YouTubers wish to never be on, or sometimes beg to be on. The video was a lot more off the wall with its humor, a lot harder with the criticism, and turned into somewhat of an exposing series, calling out creators and more focused to go after their personality than just their work. When it comes to an episode of Content Cop, Mr. Carter must find the target. Every target that is chosen needs to fit a certain criteria. Whilst it varies on certain creators, I think most of them can be applied to at least a few of them. Are they good people? If you answered probably not, add a check mark to your list. Do they often lie to or manipulate their audience? If so, add another check. Do they have a decently sized following? Looks like this channel's safe. Finally, do they lack the intelligence to make a good response? Finding an online creator that fits all of the criteria listed is often difficult, so when there is somebody who fits everything listed above, that's when the Content Cop shines. Speaking of which, let's check back to our little Content Cops and see if they found their target yet.
Hey, isn't that guy kinda suspicious?
Ruby, he's in a wheelchair.
There's something fishy about his kind. Always parked in the same spots.
We haven't exactly had the best of luck finding our target, and to be honest, I don't even know why we're out in public when we're looking for YouTubers.
After a few hours, the gang headed home where they would spend hours upon hours looking for their target.
Isn't Wallace a little fishy, you guys? Like, the way he's always in his room, yet we don't hear a thing. Don't we think he's hiding something?
Yeah, okay, but Mr. Rogers is too kind. The old guy must be hiding something.
Guys, we need to pick out a YouTuber. Isn't there a certain blue-collared shirt reviewer have a secret Tumblr account where, say, fans over the age of 18 send him nudes?
I'm telling you guys, Mr. Rogers...
After hours of arguing, they finally set sights on their target.
You know, I wasn't exactly sure at first if we'd be able to handle this target. But after a while, I think we all just learned it had to be this person.
I mean, they're publicly hated, so finding dirt on them shouldn't be difficult.
I'm just really excited everyone is getting along and we're going to work together to bring justice.
As these roommates get ready to take their next step, we must talk about the second stage Mr. Carter goes through during the creation of his series, and that would be the research process. You see, part of picking out a target is knowing that they don't really have a clean track record. What makes a good Content Cop is the amount of research gone into it. Idubbbztv does a great job in balancing attacking his targets, but never with low blows. Going back to the Keemstar video, he could have easily made a remark about Keem calling someone the N-word live on stream. He could have even dug through his history and found times he might have made rape jokes or more racial slurs, yeah, it would have added nothing to the video because most of that information is old and run into the ground. This is where a lot of channels go wrong. They constantly regurgitate information about certain individuals' past that the other 8 channels similar to them have already done before. That is why content cop is taken more seriously. Ian only goes after points that aren't as heavily discussed or can actually add something to the argument. He avoids talking about well-established information and will either use it as comic relief or just address that it's not worth discussing. We don't know how much time is spent during research, but whenever there is a point brought up, you know the man has a fair amount of evidence that backs up his claims. No accusations are made without solid evidence, whether it's the livestream footage, tweets, or even their own videos. If it wasn't for the internet recording these streams or taking these screenshots of tweets, all kinds of evidence would be lost in the dreaded accusations pile. Which leads to today's lesson: any accusation shouldn't be taken at face value. Do your research and don't just jump to the accuser's side. Checking back to our content cops in training, we see them at a library?
I thought I'd take them to a place where they could have all the resources they need. And what better than a library?
You'd think with the whole Twig being a robot thing that she'd be a little more up to date, but hey, it got us out of the house, so that's... Why are we even here?
I'm just using the Wi-Fi here.
When they had little success from the library, the trio took to the streets to interrogate pedestrians if they might know anything about their target. Now, if you're ever going to interrogate a stranger, make sure to follow these guidelines. Be respectful, be kind, and don't waterboard them. After many days of research, the gang gets together to start the final stage of their content cop, the presentation. When it comes to the way that he presents a content cop, this is where Ian differentiates himself from his peers. It's the way that he presents his videos. Ian could sit in his chair the entire episode and criticize someone with all of the valid points that he has, but that would not hold the viewer's interest for very long. Now, Ian is making an argument that lasts the entire video, but aside from that, he's making fun of a bully's weak chin, writing a diss track on an insecure flexer, awfully pranking a prankster, getting in trouble with security for dropping items off a rooftop, or even beating up a gnome while a beautiful Smash Mouth cover plays in the background. A lot of the points being presented are also shown off in a satirical way. It's a balance of having a discussion with your viewers and just making it a fun video, and I think the intros alone do a great job of showing this off. Ian is the perfect person to host Content Cop because he has the intelligence needed to do the research and put together good points, but more importantly, he has the confidence. Could you imagine a Content Cop where Ian is a little more quiet and to himself, not wanting to get hate for what he might say? It would be quite pathetic. Ian puts himself out there, and this is best shown in the Tana Mojo episode. The man paid for a ticket so he could meet Tana face to face just to say the M-word and get kicked out of her show, purely to make a point in his own video. That's just one of the many things Ian has a lot of guts and respect for doing. Combining all of these things we talked about today, from picking out the right target, the heavy amount of research, and the way to present your argument, what you get is an unstoppable force on YouTube that is celebrated all around by bringing some form of justice onto the platform. Whether it quote unquote ends someone's career or not, by the end of it all, each creator comes out impacted in some way, shape, or form. And that, my friend, is just the Content Cop doing his job. In a moment, we'll take a look to see how our content cops in training were successful in their pursuits on making their own episode. But first, a commercial break. After weeks of preparation and editing, the trio finally finished their content comp video.
I'm glad I can walk away learning just how much goes into one of these things. Personally, I think we did a great job really capturing the essence of what an episode of Content Cop is.
I saw Sn0wy and Ruby working days and nights on this to the point where I'd have to tell them to go to bed. I found this was a great learning experience for both of them, and I'm really proud of the hard work they put into this.
I just wanted to end this person's career, to be honest. I mean, hey, less competition for us.
When it comes to making content, there are very few who have even come close to making as big of an impact as this guy. From his many unforgettable songs, whether for the good or bad, to his massive catalog of episodes.
Well, this seems like an interesting target at hand.
But he isn't always innocent. People are always coming by his neighborhood, disturbing the neighbors. He's constantly causing a disturbance in the lives of people around him and is even ruining the current generation. So who are we talking about today?
Well, it seems like they're confident in their target and they've got a lot of evidence to back it up.
It should be pretty obvious.
That's right. Today, we're talking about
Yeah, Jake Paul is a great target for...
Mr. Rogers.
Wait, what the fuck?
For years, Mr. Rogers has stolen the spotlight from people, from showing us how things work, just simple little tasks. Tell me, Mr. Rogers, why can't you just let somebody else be in the spotlight by themselves? Do you really need to be there just to steal it from them and ask them a million questions?
Oh my god, this is just sad.
Who could forget Season 2, Episode 6, where Mr. Rogers clearly rips off Bob Ross? Look at the way he's just drawing on the L, showing the viewer how to draw. Sad how Bob never spoke about this blatant plagiarism.
Bob Ross did not invent painting.
But the cherry on top of all this, Mr. Rogers is ruining this generation. This article from the Wall Street Journal, with such unbiased reports like when PewDiePie was labeled a Nazi, Mr. Rogers told us that we were all special, but that caused this generation to feel entitled.
These are just terrible arguments.
We will now take this time to show the world our diss track toward Mr. Rogers. Sweaters and letters.
Content cop is not something that is easy to replicate, as proven by these amateurs.
Hey!
Each content cop is made with a purpose in mind. It isn't to expose or profit off someone else's mistake, it is simply to challenge that creator's actions and to make them think. It is never presented as a stink piece, but instead as a comedic yet critical breakdown of somebody's persona. When all said and done though, Ian's just doing his job as a content cop, making YouTube a better place, one video at a time. Also guys, just to reiterate, your content cop was awful. Please stick to video essays in the future.
Fine by me.
By the way, Mr. Rogers is dead, so how do you actually expect him to respond to this?
Mr. Rogers is what? So, why do you want to learn about portals suddenly?
To understand your thought process better, I need to learn about it more.
Wow, still not buying anything I'm saying, huh?
I wouldn't say that. I just need more insight.
I thought as a therapist you'd at least help me with my legitimate problems.
How do we know this isn't connected to it?
Okay, look. In the Imagosphere, there are the planets which represent a human being's thoughts and ideas. When humans share their ideas with one another, it subconsciously opens their minds to each other's planets. The more they learn about that person's imagination and ideas, the more of that planet becomes visible and access is granted to. That's why there's this constant desire in the world to learn. It both figuratively and literally opens people's minds to each other's ideas.
Okay, but what does this have to do with portals?
While human beings can only see people's planets by witnessing things such as paintings, books, movies, videos, etc., just physical things, creations in the Imagosphere can actually visit those places and become a part of those worlds their creators have seen. The only way those creations can actually travel to those worlds humans see is through the doors and portals. No portal, your creation's just stuck in your mind.
Interesting. But where does this multi-dimensional door come into play?
What?
In our last session, you showed me that video you were in, but you didn't look like you do now.
Oh, that's just another planet in the Imagosphere. Sometimes certain planets can alter the way you look to fit in with the aesthetic if one is established.
Well, if hypothetically there was a portal that could transfer somebody from the third dimension to the second and vice versa, what kind of threat could that bring?
I have no idea, but that'd be a lot of power in somebody's hands.
Well, it's not a response I was expecting from the guy who knows everything there is to know about the universe.
Yeah.
That seems to be all the time we have for today. I feel as though I have a decent understanding of what you're talking about. And next time, we could truly start these therapy sessions.
Thanks. I'll be on my way then.
So, he's hiding it from me, I see. Looks like I'll have to go about this differently.